In today's tutorial, I am going to show you how to set up NES emulation within RetroArch using the Messen core. As of this tutorial, Messen is considered the most accurate NES emulator, which means that it is the one that I prefer to use. I love accuracy, so I always strive to find the one that is most accurate, and in this case, Messen. Anyway, the first thing you're going to need is RetroArch. If you don't already have it, go to retroarch.com, click on Download, and scroll down to near the bottom here and click on Nightly Builds. Now this is a tutorial for Windows. I do not know if the Messen core is available on other platforms, so I just cover Windows. I'm sorry if you're doing this on something else and trying to follow along. I can't guarantee that it will be there or work. Click Windows, x86-64, and then scroll all the way down to the bottom here and click on retroarch.7zip. Now, if for whatever reason you download this, get it extracted, and it doesn't work, you can download this redistributable.7zip up here, extract that, run that, and you should be good to go. Now that RetroArch is downloaded, we're going to need to get it extracted, so just go ahead and use 7zip to do that. And make sure you place your RetroArch folder where you want it to be before you run it for the first time, because RetroArch does default all of its directories into itself upon first run. So if you do end up moving the folder later, it will be looking for the old directories and nothing will work. Just to give you a quick example, I'm going to open up RetroArch real quick. It opened up, all of the directories are saved here on my desktop, but then I move the folder, nothing works. So what you're going to do here is delete retroarch.config to start over from scratch. So just put it where you want it the first time, that way you don't have to start over, it's annoying. Anyway, go ahead and open up RetroArch. And you can press F on your keyboard to go into full screen mode. From here, we're going to go to Online Updater, Core Updater, and we're going to press right on our keyboard to scroll down to the Nintendo section here. So we're looking for Nintendo, NES, and we're going to grab Messen. Once you have that downloaded, go ahead and press backspace twice to go back out to the main menu, and now you are free to load up any of your NES games and start playing. And yes, that pretty much is it as far as NES emulation is concerned. If you wanted to get NES emulation up and running, congrats, you are done. It is ready to go. No insane setup steps required here. There's no BIOS or firmware files. It's just download the core, load up your games, happy gaming. So if that's all you were looking for, congrats, you're done. But if you'd like to stick around, I will show you some of the cool core options that are available with Messen, as well as setting up a playlist for your NES games. So the first thing I want to show you is how to set up a playlist for your games, because using this file browser is a pain in the butt and I do not like it. So go ahead and click on Show Desktop Menu, and that brings up the RetroArch desktop menu, which is freaking awesome. So we're going to right click in this white space here, New Playlist, and we're going to type in Nintendo, space dash space, Nintendo Entertainment System. And now that gives us a nice little Famicom logo over here, Nintendo Entertainment System, nice. Now to add our games, we're going to go ahead and right click over here and add a folder. And I have my games stored on the desktop. You're going to navigate to wherever you have your games stored, and then choose the folder and click on Select Folder. Now from here, it's going to ask you which core it's for, so we're using Messen, and the database is Nintendo Entertainment System. And there are all the games I had stored inside of my NES games folder. Now just a quick note here, if you do have Famicom Disk System games, it will require the disksys.rom for that system. I don't own any Famicom Disk System games, so I don't have these files. But if you want to be able to play those games, you would just go ahead and put that file in your system folder. Now that we have the playlist set up, we can actually make this look a lot better by downloading thumbnails on it, and there's two ways of doing this. First, you can right click over on the Nintendo Entertainment System entry, download all thumbnails, this playlist. Now for the downloader to work, games do need to be named a specific way, otherwise it will not find them in the database. So for me, it looks like all of my game files have been found successfully. Now let's just say you tried this and it didn't find box arts for some of your games, or you just don't like some of the box arts that it downloaded automatically for you. What I like to do in this case is head over to GameFAQs and go to their media section for the game in question. GameFAQs has a nice selection of user-uploaded box arts, and you can find usually high-quality box arts for most games. But in the case of Zelda here, the original box had a cutout to show the gold cartridge originally, and I think that's kind of neat. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this image to my desktop. And now I'm just going to go ahead and drag this new box art over onto the box art that was already here, or if it wasn't here originally, you can just put it on the blank space. But there we go. Now the image has been replaced. And now to get this playlist to show up in RetroArch, we're just going to go ahead and close it down. And open it back up. Now over on the left hand side of the screen we have a new Nintendo Entertainment System playlist entry, and it looks awesome, and I love how it has little cartridges over here, and then over on the right you can see all of your box arts if you got them set up. And then to run one you just need to select it and click on run. Ta-da! But now let's go over some of the core options that are available in Messen. So I'm not going to go over every core option, but let's go over some of the ones I feel a lot of people will be interested in. So if you press F1 on your keyboard, you'll be brought to the quick menu here. Then just scroll on down to options. And that brings us to everything we get to mess around with. So first up is the NTSC filter. These are basically shaders that are pre-built into the emulator that let you emulate composite or S-video or RGB outputs. And it looks pretty awesome, I have to say. You can also do monochrome if you're interested. This really throws it back. And then there's a couple of upscaling filters as well that seem to be going off of composite video. Next up is the color palette selection, and the NES is a weird beast when it comes to colors. Technically, there is no correct palette for the NES. It was really dependent on a user's TV because there's just so many different variations of the same scene, and every single one of them looked different just depending on the input that it was captured on. So there's a nice selection of palettes available. You can do the NES Classic, you could do Firebrand X's amazing captures here. I think these would probably be considered the best. But my personal favorite is using this one, Sony CXA2025AS. It makes it so the image doesn't look so bland, but most people would say that it's oversaturated. But considering this is what these games looked like on 3DS Virtual Console 2, like, I don't know. There's an argument for this, and it's honestly what I prefer. But go ahead and scroll through them, see which one you like. Next up is the aspect ratio. Now, most emulators by default don't do any stretching, and that leaves you with this more pillar boxed look. This is technically incorrect. NES games were built with 4x3 TVs in mind, so an image would be stretched to fill your screen. So there's a couple different options available. You could do NTSC, or you could just go ahead and set it to straight 4x3. Again, this is more of a preference thing, so just choose the one that you think looks best to your eye. I like 4x3. I like my Mario being a little chubby. What can I say? Now, if you're really crazy, you could of course do 16:9 and just fill that whole screen up, but why do you gotta be a heathen for? Nah, I'm just kidding. If you like it, you like it. Who cares? Now, for these next couple of core options, I am going to be using 1942 as an example here because it has a lot of sprites, and it has some weird overscan issues. So if we play it, you can see that things start flickering, and at the top you can see that it's drawing in weird texture data as it's scrolling up. So we can overcome this by turning on the top overscan. There we go. It's almost gone. There we go. Now it's gone. No more weird scrolling artifacts. Isn't that nice? But how about that sprite flickering? Look at those planes just popping out of existence for a minute here. Well, you can actually head down here to remove sprite limit and turn that on, and that will get rid of all sprite flickering, which is something that the real NES was just incapable of. Some NES games also experience some heavy slowdowns, so you can actually overclock your emulated NES here. Just a couple different settings there, just depending on the game. You can try those out and see if it removes the slowdown to your liking. Personally, I don't really use that, but hey, it's your emulation. Enjoy it how you want to enjoy it. Another cool enhancement that is available in Messen is you can enable a fake stereo soundscape, just like you can with some RGB mods. And then, of course, you can also change the sound output rate. So if you're an audiophile, you can go ahead and kick this all the way up to 384,000. Get the most out of that 8-bit soundscape. The last option is the HD packs. There are NES games out there that are getting HD texture packs. Now, HD packs go into the system folder /HD packs, and then whatever you have your game named as. And that's it as far as NES games are concerned. There's really not a whole lot to the setup process, and the core options are pretty easy to understand and get set up. Even controller options, there really isn't a whole lot here. You can change what controller you're using between power pads, zappers, things like that. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comment section below. I'll do my best to try to help you out, but again, NES, not too complicated to get set up, so hopefully you shouldn't have too many issues. But as always, I cannot thank you all enough for watching these tutorials. I cannot express enough gratitude to how much it really helps out the channel, so thank you. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that sub button, that like-dislike button, just depending on how much you like today's tutorial. And if you'd like to further help support the channel, you can always check out that join button here on YouTube, or check out the Patreon link in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. As always, I am just grateful for your consideration and your generosity. And to all of my champions who have already done so, I cannot thank you enough for keeping me going. But that's going to be it for today, so until next time, stay awesome, and we will see you all back next video.